I have Mark Reinhart on the line with me. He's a Chatham-Kent citizen. He's an artist and a curator. We have been enjoying a lot of the messages that we're seeing within the community, and I'm sure that many of you that are catching this call today are seeing it too. So welcome, Mark. Thank you very much for taking some time out this morning. And I'm really glad to be ending the week with such an inspiring conversation. So I just want to start off with, how are you doing? I imagine that much like the rest of us, you're working from home, and how is it that you and your family are staying safe and healthy, and a mental health spin to it? Like, how are you staying healthy that way?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Karen. I slept in a little bit today, so that's step one of how I've been trying to make sense of things, is trying to make sure I get some sleep. Simon, my partner, and I are hunkering down in our apartment, trying to eat well, get outside, get some fresh air when we can. And we both have a pretty consistent physical practice, so we are moving our bodies quite often through our studio body language. And in addition to that, trying to give ourselves lots of headspace to do nothing at the same time. There's lots of opportunity to be busy and to be doing things and to keep our minds occupied, but we're trying to shut that off at the same time. So that's what we're doing at home.
It's so real. It's so important that self-care, that especially the folks that are busy right now, especially our frontline workers, the nonprofits. They are working with these priority populations who are hurting. They're really truly hurting, and so it makes sense to put some self-care as the focus.
It's been interesting. So part of my regular days, I'm outreach coordinator for arts and culture for the municipality. But then through the process of deployment, I'm over at Riverview Gardens now as a resident support worker. So I found myself on the front lines, not to the same degree, but as folks who are doing this day in and day out and have been doing this for years. But it has been a pretty steep learning curve in terms of not just learning the job itself, but learning how to integrate with the community, that specific Riverview Gardens community, but then also how to mentally kind of process what that experience is like in a pretty quick turnaround. So it's everybody has their own relationship to our situation right now. So we say in our house, and I've said with a few of the messages around town too, is lead with patience and compassion and understanding and active curiosity. And just give everybody a little bit of room to breathe, including yourself.
And that's not easy. We had Elizabeth Downey on the call earlier in the week, and just a absolutely gem. And we were talking about the importance of kindness, and the struggle sometimes that it is even to be kind, to be honest with you. Like in these stressful moments, I had expressed that I was waiting in line at the post office and listening to people bickering, and most days I feel like I have a heck of a lot more patience, and patience equals kindness, but it's not easy. And then the other part is I think the greater challenge is people being able to be kind to themselves.
And to be aware that there's going to be peaks and valleys, I think, with this whole experience, and to let yourself kind of go through that. If you find you're just having a real crotchety kind of morning, then let yourself have that morning. If you have some tools in your toolkit on to help you sort through that, go for a run, go for a walk, have a tea, read a book, dance your face off. That's my personal favorite one these days. I've been dancing like a crazy person in our apartment. But just to be mindful that that there are going to be peaks and valleys, and to try to move with those as best you can, and let other people move in their own way as well. Yeah, it's not easy. It's doable. It's just not always easy. That's for sure.
Yeah, those are good tips. And you had mentioned to feel everything, and that was, and I could be butchering that that message that you put out there, but I know that that was on the Tilbury Health Team's
Yep.
building. So
Yep.
on that, I'm going to share my screen because I'm going to share some of the messages that you've been putting up throughout the community. And so maybe we can talk a little bit about health and safety social, which I do want to point out when I'm going to share this screen. It is our Instagram feed, and it is health and safety social. So please, if you're listening in on this call, follow along Mark's messaging, and yeah. So Mark, talk a little bit about how you came up with this, where this idea came from, and maybe even where the first building that you put your messaging up. And I'm going to go ahead and start the sharing.
Yeah, sure. So the original kind of concept came from a conversation I had with Rebecca Haskell-Thomas, who is evaluations and planning specialist for CK Public Health. So this was very early on in this whole process, when the phrase physical distancing didn't really exist. It was social distancing. And we were thinking about what is an interesting phrase we could come up with that could encourage folks to be apart, because we needed to be apart right now, but then also to stay together during that process. So we came up with the hashtag be apart, stay together, CK. And then started sharing that online as an umbrella hashtag, so people could populate it with all the interesting things they were doing to be apart but stay together during this time. And then so I'm a duct tape artist. I've been doing it for a long time. So I do like temporary graffiti with duct tape. So I went and wrote the hashtag on the Civic Center. I figured, let's go to the heart of the political community, as it were, the decision-making kind of venue in the city, and tag it to help kind of champion that way of thinking throughout the entire community. And then from there, I started animating the buildings that I was working at. So the Capitol Theater, the Cultural Center, and then the library reached out to me. They're always doing innovative stuff at the library. So they had a few phrases that they wanted me to put on their building. And so that was the first time that I collaborated with a business or an organization. And then that kind of sent the project in a new direction. So then every time I go to a building, a private residence, an institution, I make sure that we have a conversation about what the messaging is to be on that building. And then I put it up, and then it has just kind of snowballed. I've been receiving lots of asks from folks to have their messages on the building. And it's evolved into this really interesting community art initiative that references public art, that references graffiti art, that references the fact that we are all in this together. That was from the Capitol Theater. And it shows how art is essential, not only now, but anytime, to help us make sense of whatever reality we're experiencing. I think it's a super important tool to engage and to animate.
So I'm just scrolling through. They're beautiful. How many places do you have messaging up, Mark?
Yeah, I think it's close to 40 now. Not all of them are here just yet. I'm releasing them kind of basically one day at a time now. So this one, if you pause here, this nevertheless we persisted, was an interesting case. Yeah, so I had one up on the Capitol Theater. We were all on this together, and I ride my bike around town, and I rode by and it was gone. Somebody took it down, not really sure who, doesn't really matter. But speaking of those peaks and valleys, I I had a bit of a low morning where I was not a very happy person and was like, why would somebody take this off the wall and blah blah blah. Um, Forgetting that it is temporary public art, it is duct tape, it can be ripped off, and that's not a PSA to rip it off. Please don't rip off the tape, but it did. And then I thought, well, I have a choice to sit here and pout about it or just put up a new phrase. So I put up a new phrase and used it as an opportunity to encourage people to persist and be resilient, and that there's going to be lots of times throughout this process where it feels like hope gets ripped off your own wall. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
to keep carrying on and in my case create a new message, but for you, one foot in front of the other, one day at a time. Like let's keep trudging through this as a community. So that was
That's great. That's awesome messaging, Mark. I want to highlight this one as well, because we reached out to you as well. We were one of those folks that said, hey, what about our building?
Yeah.
So ours is Local Love in a Global Crisis. And of course, that's the campaign, if you will, that we're in the midst of, where we are, going out to the community and asking to support the COVID relief fund. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this call, is United Way are bringing those funds to a co-investors table. So we are literally one individual or one seat, if you will, at that table. With other investors addressing the needs in the community. So thank you for putting that up on our building. That was awesome. I came into work and actually filmed it as I drove by. So it was so from my perspective, thank you, because that made my morning.
For sure. And it's that phrase in particular, Karen, shows the scope of this, eh? Like we can work on a local level, but we're contributing to this global, we're helping solve this global crisis, right? Like it shows the scope of the power of what we're doing, which I think is really important.
Absolutely.
So if you pause on this one, yeah. So in my travels, when I go to work, I stare at this building all the time. It's right by a stoplight that I stop at before I hit the cultural center. Yeah.
I totally recognize it. Yeah. Outreach for Hunger.
Totally. So this one was an interesting partnership, working with some of the folks involved with the May 16th event coming up. So the phrase "this is our moment" has been used in some of the campaign for the May 16th event, but also it's a phrase that speaks to art lovers and saying that this is our moment to show that art is essential. It speaks to the community that says this is our moment to come together and really show how we're a community. I really was, this is one of my favorite ones in terms of its location and I mean, aesthetically, the color of the blue against the bricks looks really great, but the phrase itself, I think, is one that can be used in a lot of different contexts. So I think this one just speaks to a number of different things that are going on. Like I said, like the May 16th event quite specifically, but beyond that as well. This is our chance to really make some changes and to find those really great opportunities to come together.
So for those of you who are joining us and may not, which would really be surprising, may not have heard about the May 16 Miracle, it is going to be Chatham-Kent's largest food drive in history. There is a group of philanthropists who have pulled together hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of volunteers, and they are going to every single doorstep in Chatham-Kent on May 16th at noon to pick up an item, a non-perishable item, a grocery card, whatever it is that you feel that how you can support. It's basically going to our food banks and then in turn going to all the other community groups that are utilizing food to support folks out there. So, and again, the website, actually, I'll mention that it is straightforward May 16 miracle, and folks can learn more about it and sign up to volunteer. So I appreciate the messaging that you're putting on those buildings there, Mark.
Yeah, that's a great occasion that speaks to how art has a role in helping shape the built environment and how we connect and communicate with each other. Oh, and then, so because I'm at Riverview Gardens, and I've done a few other long-term care facilities, but this one I think is important as well. This one was done a week and a half ago or so. So it says, this is a story about resiliency. And I think for me, this one spoke to a number of different things. So it spoke to the frontline workers who are coming in and out of that building every day. It spoke to municipal employees who may otherwise be working in an art gallery, but are suddenly finding themselves in a long-term care facility. And it speaks to, obviously, the residents as well, some of whom haven't had any communication with their families or are facing this battle in a pretty specific way. So to help define the story that we're telling about this event, it is a story of resiliency, it's a story of hope, it's a story of coming together, that there's an opportunity for us to write the story ourselves rather than have it be written for us.
Beautifully put. Very beautifully put. I'll just throw in this is a completely personal note, but my father is in long-term care as well. And at the beginning of this, I haven't seen him physically since, I think it was March the 8th. And I went back to the home on the following Saturday to bring him a bunch of, just to do our regular drop-in. And that's when I was stopped at the door and told that they weren't admitting any visitors, which as much as that hurt, I completely respect and appreciate all that, yourself, Mark, all the folks that are working in these long-term care facilities are doing to keep our seniors safe.
Mm-hmm. And it's keeping them safe, and it's keeping them, and they're entertaining us as well. I've had some of the most lovely conversations over the past few weeks getting to know these residents who are magical and sarcastic and hilarious. We're doing our best to keep their spirits up as well. So it's a joy. It's a joy.
Well, I want to thank you. On a personal note, that's not where my father is, but you're certainly those people that are high up in my books for appreciation.
Thanks. So this one that I've just posted, I know I miss you too. Yeah. So
yeah,
I grew up.
I saw this one. I knew, I'm not from Chatham-Kent, so some of these buildings aren't, they don't pop out to me. But I kind of figured I knew where this was coming from, and it's probably your messaging. Your messaging you nailed it, because you go on and explain it, but I kind of picked up on it right off the hop.
Yeah. So this is my old high school. I went to McGregor. My parents live on Mud Creek, so just like a 5-minute walk down the path. And so this is a place where I go to run or I go to bike or whatever. And lots of people use it, being responsible and keeping their distance from each other for sure. But I've been staring at this canvas for a long time, and this phrase has been resting in my head because it works in a number of different ways. My nephew is in grade 12 at McGregor right now, Ryan, and I can't help but think about him and all the other students and teachers who are involved in the education system right now, but particularly him thinking about graduating grade 12 and not seeing his friends and not having some of those experiences, right? So the message is multi-layered for me insofar as it's students saying, I know I miss you too, to each other. It's saying it to their teachers saying it to the students, and then it's the school saying it to the school community. And then beyond that, it's the community saying it to each other that we miss each other. And in our own individual ways, there is some element of missing that's going on. So I think to kind of identify that have it said in this type of a way, so that maybe if you don't want to say it yourself, then the wall's saying it for you. So it and it being a relatively popular path, I think it allowed people an opportunity to relate to it. It's one of my
Well,
favorites for sure.
they're beautiful messages. Is there anything that you want to leave this conversation with? This messaging is going out through both your TV and through United Way. So we hope that we can help you deliver messaging. But is there anything that people can do to help you share the messaging? And maybe if you want to leave off with some, a tip, a creative tip on staying mentally healthy.
Yeah, sure. So it's funny. I've been writing lots of words and now I'm at a loss for words. I have I guess a couple different pages. I have my own personal Instagram page, which you can follow. It's at Mark Reinhart. And then health and safety is a new kind of project that I've been working on as a way to be curious about how art and artists help a community make sense of itself, basically. And that's what these messages are trying to do. They're trying to engage the community, listen to the community, and then use its own words to reflect its experience back on itself. So art, I've said it many times, is an essential tool in that process, and can be used to our advantage here to help speak to each other and to help relate to each other. So I guess my pitch, especially it being Mental Health Week, Awareness Week, is to be curious about the creative ways that we can show that we're all connected. We Are All Connected is literally written on Access Open Minds, on the Canadian Mental Health Association, the Lambton-Kent branch, and Chatham-Kent Children's Services. Those are all great organizations that help us be connected and help us sort through some mental struggles these days in particular. And they're encouraging folks to be creative too in how we can make sense of situations that seem like there's no sense to them. So whether that's painting on a sidewalk, duct taping on some bricks, walking like a crazy person down the street, dancing your face off in your apartment, there's lots of different ways that you can approach it. Now is the time to embrace some of that vulnerability and surprise yourself.
Thanks, Mark. Really appreciate you joining us. For all of yous out there, please follow Mark's at Health and Safety Social and share those messages of hope. I know it brings some light to my day. So I really appreciate you joining us, Mark. And I'm waiting. I'm going to wait very patiently because I'm following both your personal and your Health and Safety Social. And I'm going to watch for that dancing like crazy video because I need to know what that looks like so I can maybe practice it myself.
It's
I've
fun.
been pretty active on TikTok these days. So certainly watching for that. So maybe we can do a duet.
I love it. Oh my God, I love it.
So thanks everyone for joining us. Again, Health and Mental Health Awareness Week. Thanks Mark for joining us. It's been a great week with some awesome speakers talking about ways to keep ourselves healthy. For any of yous out there looking to get help, please visit our ckgives.ca for a listings of supports and services that are available to you. If you're looking to give help, same thing, ckgives.ca. There is a volunteer tab, sign up, and we'll connect you with local organizations that are looking for volunteers. And then finally, please give to the COVID-19 fund. As I was speaking about earlier, we do have an investors table. It is very, very coordinated. It is, we are all in this together, and we need to work in a united way to be able to get through this. So although this is Thursday, this is airing Friday, so I am going to say happy Friday, Chatham-Kent. Have a safe, healthy weekend. For those of you, able to spend some time with your mother, your grandmother, if you can. If you're in the position where you've social isolating with them, give them a big, huge hug. And if you're not able to, call them up. Spread that message of hope. We know that seniors are especially more isolated. And then for those of you who don't have your mothers with you, my heart goes out to you as well. So stay safe, informed, and connected.